How's it going, everyone? Welcome to our first episode of Magic Mishap, where magic is askew due to the lack of a goddess holding the weave together, and our party will try to fix that somehow. Um, anyways, let's get into it. The party finds themselves beckoned over to a table where an old man sits. He waits for them to sit down before he speaks. I'm glad that you guys came over here. I need to tell you the reason why the magic of this world is so out of whack. It is because Mistra, the goddess of magic, is missing, and I was hoping that you lot would be able to find her.
Cale Thorne sits stiffly, the chair creaking beneath the weight of his armor. His echo flickers faintly behind him for an instant, like a mirage trying to sit as well, then vanishes with a faint pop. His single good eye narrows at the old man. Cale, missing? Gods don't just go missing. Either she's dead, or she's hiding. He leans forward, knuckles tapping the wooden table like the toll of a war drum.
Silra Vera gives a nervous laugh, a spark of static dancing across her fingertips before she tucks her hands under the table. Silra, you're saying the source of all magic just wandered off? That's like the sun deciding it needs a nap. She grins, but her eyes flicker with fear. Where do we even start looking for a goddess? A book floats halfway out of her satchel before falling back down, thudding softly, the weave twitching around her.
Erin of the Hollow Song doesn't sit right away. She touches the table's surface, feeling the grain, the small bits of life clinging to dead wood. Only then does she sit, eyes clouded with the faint glow of her spore light. Erin, the world whispers her name still, in the cracks in the rot. Mistra isn't gone, she's wounded. She looks at the old man, not directly, but as if listening to something behind his words. Erin, where did you hear this, old one? And what price comes with finding her?
The old man leans forward, careful not to speak too loud over the other patrons in the tavern. I've heard that somehow, some way, someone summoned her and is draining her of her powers and divine essence. I've heard this while I was in Hamlot, the new capital.
Silra's eyes widen, her hands fly to her mouth, but a faint shimmer of arcane light bursts from her fingers anyway, dancing across the ceiling like nervous lightning. Silra, summoned her? Summoned a goddess? That's impossible. Or suicidal. Or both. She leans closer, lowering her voice. If someone's draining Mistra, that would explain the surges. The web isn't broken, it's bleeding.
Cale crosses his arms, jaw tightening. Cale, Hamlot, you said? That's 3 weeks' ride east, through the Dead Lands. He glances to Silra and Erin. If half the stories about that place are true, the ground there still hums with leftover spells. People vanish into thin air. He looks back to the old man. You sure of your source? Or is this just another tavern tale trying to buy itself around?
Erin watches quietly. Her spore light dims and brightens with her breath. Erin, draining a god means touching their soul. The air would taste of ash and starlight. She tilts her head, as if listening to the tavern itself. The fungi whisper that something hungry stirs beneath the eastern fields. Perhaps they dream of Hamlot too. She looks to the old man again. Who was this summoner you heard of? A cult, a king, a name lost to time?
I agree. To summon a god or a goddess is quite the feat. I can only imagine what kind of power this person holds. Not sure of their name, I'm afraid, but I do believe this whisper.
Kale leans in, his shadow crossing the table like a scar. The tavern's light flickers. For a heartbeat, his echo appears behind him again, leaning in the same way, then vanishes. Kale, whispers are better than nothing. Sometimes whispers are all a soldier has before the next battle. He nods once, grimly. If there's truth to this, then whoever's behind it is playing God with the world's lifeblood. We'll find them.
Silra drums her fingers on the table, each tap leaving a faint glow that lingers half a second too long. Silra, draining a goddess would take more than power. It'd take infrastructure, a ritual matrix, containment runes, maybe even relics from the old floating cities. She bites her lip, thinking aloud. Hamlet's built right on top of Iloria's wreckage, isn't it? Maybe they found something, an anchor to the old weave. Her voice softens, barely above a whisper. If we can follow the whispers, maybe we can hear her, before she's gone completely.
Erin raises her eyes to the ceiling, where Silra's sparks still dance. The spores around her pulse faintly in response. Erin, whispers carry truth like seeds in the wind. Sometimes they take root in dangerous soil. She turns to the old man, studying him with eyes that seem to look through him. Erin, these whispers, did they come from a voice? From a dream? Or from something you found?
I've heard them from a vision. Well, heard isn't quite right. I seen them from a vision. And then, as the party looks amongst themselves, he vanishes.
Silra jerks back, the chair scraping across the tavern floor. Her eyes dart to where the old man had been, nothing but an empty seat, the faint shimmer of dust twisting in the candlelight. Silra, oh no, no, no. Not again. Tell me someone else saw that, he was real, right?
Kale stands instantly, hand on his sword. His echo manifests beside the empty chair with a crack, inspecting the space silently before fading once more. Kale, he's gone. Not walked away, erased. The weave pulled him back. He exhales slowly. Which means he wasn't entirely here to begin with. He glances toward the tavern door, scanning for any signs of attention, but the other patrons seem completely unaware that anyone had been there at all.
Erin closes her eyes and breathes deeply. The spores around her rise, swirling toward the space where the man vanished. They shimmer briefly, then fall still. Erin, the air tastes of burnt silver, a soul pulled through its own vision. She opens her eyes, glowing faintly green. The goddess speaks through the dying. Perhaps he was a vessel, not a man. She looks to her companions. Whatever called him or threw him knows we listened.
For a moment, the tavern feels wrongly quiet. The sounds of mugs clinking, dice rolling, and drunken laughter return, as if the old man has never been there at all. But the three heroes look at themselves as they know better.
Kale pushes in his chair, eyes still scanning the space the old man vanished. Kale, if Hamlet's calling us, we move before the trail goes cold. He tightens the straps on his armor. Let's resupply and get on the road before dawn. His echo flickers for a moment at the doorway, as if impatient to leave.
Silra grabs her satchel and nearly drops it as a spark leaps from her palm. Silra, if that was truly a vision, someone is guiding us. Maybe Mistra herself. She shivers. Or something pretending to be her. She gives a nervous grin. Either way, Hamlet it is.
Erin stands last, her spores drifting softly around her shoulders like drifting fireflies. Erin, the threads of fate tug at us. I hear them clearer now. She looks toward the tavern door, listening. There is rot in Hamlet, and something buried beneath it.
As they step outside, the tavern doors swing open and the cool night air hits them. The sky above is fractured lines of faint purple light spiderwebbing across the stars, visible scars of the broken magic web. Morning comes soon, but what feels like it took forever as the party got their things ready for the journey ahead. They meet up at the gate of the town before they start to head out. A few hours pass as they go through the countryside. The countryside is quiet. Rolling hills, broken pieces of the fallen sky, ruins half buried in the earth, and the smell of morning dew. The piece is shattered by some crunching and some slurping noises. As the party looks to see where these noises are coming from, they find a troll hunched over in the middle of a garden. Short, probably about 15 to 20 feet away from the farmhouse, as it takes handfuls of vegetables and whatnot and just chomps on them. The farmer's tool lies scattered and the farmhouse door is partly broken as if someone slammed it shut in a panic. The troll has yet to notice the party.
Kale instinctively steps in front of the others. Kale, troll. Hungry. Probably territorial. Hand dropping to his sword. We can try to drive it off, or we take it down before it reaches the farmhouse. His echo flickers beside him, silent, ready.
Silra squints at the creature, sparks already dancing at her fingertips. Silra, hey, do trolls normally eat gardens? I thought they ate, people. She chews her lip. I could try distracting it, or blasting it. But with the weave like this. A spark fizzles dangerously in her hair.
Erin raises a hand to feel the air. The spores around her drift toward the troll, sensing the rot and hunger. Erin, it is starving. Desperate. The imbalance of the web tears at lesser creatures first. She lowers her voice. We may calm it. Or we may need to return it to the earth.
The initiative order. Kale, Celia, the troll, and then Erin.
Kale's turn. Kale uses Manifest Echo, no action, a flickering duplicate appears 15 foot behind the troll. Kale then charges in and attacks with his longsword. Attack 1, d20 plus 5 18, hit. Damage, 1d8 plus 3 9 slashing. Attack 2, d20 plus 5 14, miss, Troll's AC is 15. Kale conclusion. Deals 9 damage to the troll. The troll roars and turns toward him.
Silra's turn. Silra takes a deep breath and casts Chaos Bolt, 2nd level. Attack roll, d20 plus 5 17, hit. Damage, 3d8 plus 1d6. d8, 6, 4, 3. d6, 5. Total equals 18 damage. Type chosen, lightning, from the 6. Wild Magic Surge check, d22. Oh, that's a surge. Rolling on the Wild Magic table. D137. Effect, you are surrounded by faint, ethereal music for the next minute. So now whimsical magical music follows Silra around the battlefield. Silra conclusion. Troll takes 18 lightning damage. Silra now has magical background music.
The troll's turn. Badly wounded, the troll turns its fury to Kale. Taking its first claw attack, hits with a 21, doing 12 slashing damage. Taking its second claw attack, hits with a 15, doing a 10 on top of that. And then going in for a bite, only gets a 13, which misses. Kale's armor class, in conclusion, doing 21 points of damage to Kale.
Erin's turn. Seeing Kale nearly torn apart, Erin raises a hand and spores swirl. She casts Halo of Spores, reaction, prepped at start of hostile action. Troll Con save. D20 plus tube 7, fail. Damage, 1d4, 3 necrotic. Then for her actual action, she casts Chill Touch, ranged spell. Attack roll, d20 plus 5 19, hit. Damage, 2d8, 10 necrotic. Chill Touch also prevents the troll from regenerating next turn. Erin conclusion. White medium star deals 13 necrotic damage. Stop sign troll cannot regenerate next round.
Kale wipes blood from his mouth and grips his sword tighter. He uses Unleash Incarnation, letting his echo attack as well. Kale attack 1. D20 plus 5 23, hit. Damage, 1d8 plus 3 10 slashing. Kale attack 2. D20 plus 5 9, miss. Echo attack, Unleash Incarnation. D20 plus 5 17, hit. Damage, 1d8 plus 3 9 slashing. Kale total damage equals 19.
Silra's turn. Silra lifts her hands, sparks dancing wildly. She casts Scorching Ray, 2nd level. 3 rays, each with its own attack roll. Ray 1. D20 plus 5 22, hit. Damage, 2d6 7 fire. Ray 2. D20 plus 5 14, miss. Ray 3. D20 plus 5 19, hit. Damage, 2d6 10 fire. Silra total damage equals 17 fire. Wild Magic Surge check. D20 19. No surge this time, the music continues though.
The troll still alive, but badly beaten from the onslaught, and yet he still continues to fight. He misses with the first claw attack, hits with the second one to Kale, doing 11 points of slashing. And he connects on his bite this time, doing 9 points to Kale. As this bite lands, Kale goes limp and falls, and his echo shatters like glass before it disappears.
Aaron sees Kale fall and immediately steps forward, spores swirling like a storm. Bonus action. Halo of Spores. Troll Con save. D20 plus tube 10. Fail. Damage. 1d4, 4 necrotic. Action. Chill touch again. Attack roll. D20 plus 5, 21. Hit. Damage. 2d8, 12 necrotic. Aaron total damage equals 16 necrotic. And the troll still cannot regenerate next round.
And with that, the last bit of chill touch, the troll falls. The troll's corpse collapses into the ruined garden, its greenish blood soaking into the soil. Moments later, the farmhouse door creaks open. A wiry old farmer who steps out with quite the shocked expression on his face. The farmer hurries over to Kale. Good God! Thank the gods above that you're still here with us. But yeah, that monster's been tearing up my crops for quite a bit, and from the looks of it, looks like he ate half my winter crops. But he fumbles with his belt and pulls out a small glass bottle. Here, drink this. You should feel better afterwards. Soon after Kale drinks this potion, he becomes stable and regains 7 hit points.
Kale pushes himself up slowly, one hand to his ribs. Kale, much appreciated, thought the beast had me for sure. He stands, though a little shakily. You're safe now. His echo flickers back into existence for just a second, then fades again.
Silra brushes dirt off her robes, the magical battle music fading into soft harp notes before dying out. Silra, sorry about the garden, and, the music. A stray spark pops from her hair. Glad you're okay, Kale.
Aaron kneels by the troll's corpse, spores drifting. Aaron, this creature was driven by hunger, and the weave's sickness. She stands, eyes soft. Better it finds rest now.
As the farmer begins to stack more wood, making sure the troll's body is completely burned. I don't have much gold to give you, but I can offer you lunch, and whether that's some fresh bread and stew, maybe some wine if you fancy that. He gestures to his home with smoke curling from the chimney and the smell of the stew drifting outwards. It ain't much, but it's an honest thanks.
Kale sits with a slow exhale, placing his sword near the table within reach. Steam rises from his bowl as he dips bread into the stew. Kale, it's been a while since I've had a proper meal. Thank you. His echo flickers faintly behind him for half a heartbeat as if longing for a taste too, then dissipates.
Silra heaps her bowl full, blowing on it while the last of the wild magic orbs flicker away. Silra, oh wow, this is real food. I've been living on trail rations and unstable spell energy for weeks. The spoon she uses briefly glows like it's trying to levitate, but doesn't quite manage. Oops, sorry. Still getting the magic under control.
Erin dips her fingers into the bowl, tasting carefully. Erin. Warmth. Earth. Spice. This stew remembers the sun. The farmer pauses to blink at her, uncertain what that means, exactly. Erin simply smiles serenely and continues eating.
You're a lot of heading east, aren't you? Towards Hamlet? Kale nods. Then you best be careful. Folks say the land near Hamlet ain't right. There's been some strange lights in the fields. Sounds like whispering in the wind. You know, they also say travelers have been going missing there, not just from bandits or beasts. They're just gone without a trace. He looks over towards the window as if expecting something to be watching. Some say it's because the goddess is gone. Some say Hamlet's built on cursed stone, but I hear it's something deeper as he leans closer once more. They say there's a tower that appears one night, just blinked into existence on the outskirts of Hamlet. No, no doors, just black stone. As they chat over this hot stew, they take a short rest.
You've heard more than you're saying. Tell us everything, farmer. Every whisper, every rumor.
The farmer hesitates and then nods. I have heard things. Hamlet used to be a proud place, built on the ruins of the sky city Eloria. But folks say the ruins wake up at night. He glances to the window once again, lowering his voice. People say the stones hum, that the old glyphs glow blue, that the shadow moves along the broken walls, a shadow that does not have a caster.
Magic waking on its own could be a fracture in the weave. Or residual divine power. The spoon she's holding briefly turns into a feather before becoming metal again. She whispers. Or a summoning.
And there's been disappearances. Folks say the ground near Hamlet, it ain't solid no more. Step in the wrong spot and you'll just fall through the world. My cousin's boy was traveling through west from Hamlet. They found his horse wandering alone, saddle torn, eyes white as bleached bone.
The land is crying. The imbalance runs deep. These vanishings, they're feeding something.
The farmer looks relieved that someone understands, even if he doesn't fully grasp what she means. There's been talk of a cult, not the usual kind either, with the fancy robes and the chants. These folk don't pray, but they listen to something beneath Hamlet. He leans closer. He leans in so close that the party can smell the herbs on his breath. They say it speaks in dreams, gives visions. People who hear it stop sleeping, stop eating, stop being themselves. His hand trembles. Some call it the sleepless voice. He straightens up, shaking off the dread. But that's all I know. I've already said too much, way more than I should have. That is all.
Sora tries to detect magical traces. Sora closes her eyes, letting her breathing match the rhythm of the crackling fire. The spoon on the table levitates slightly, a hum building behind her ears. She whispers, "Sora, web of magic, show me what's broken." A faint ripple spreads from her hands like heat haze. Sora's Arcana check. D20 plus 5, 16.
On a 16, you sense magic, but there's also something wrong with it, something unnatural. A residue of power lingers in the farmhouse, a kind of like psychic imprint, a vision. You see the old man from the tavern, the one who vanished, his voice fractured and distant. The sleepless voice beneath Hamlot. And as she comes back too,
He wasn't just a vision, he was a message. Something used him to speak to us.
Erin steps onto the porch, kneels, and places her palms against the soil. Sporelights drift from her fingers into the ground. Erin's nature check. D20 plus 5, 17.
on a 17, she feels it immediately. The land here is sick. The troll wasn't just hungry, it was driven. A faint pulse throbs beneath the earth, slow, steady, almost like a heartbeat.
Something beneath Hamlot is feeding, and the land's pain calls creatures to it. She opens her eyes, breath unsteady. If we do nothing, it will grow.
Kale steps outside, scanning the yard, the broken garden, and the surrounding fields. He circles the troll's corpse, then the farmer's fence line. Kale's survival check. D20 plus 3, 19.
On a 19, Kale finds tracks, but not from the troll. Some sort of bipedal humanoid. They were barefoot, though. Light, deliberate steps. Sets of 3 coming from the east, stopping at the edge of the farmer's property. But then the tracks vanish.
Someone, or something, was watching. Recently. He rises, hand tightening on his sword. Kale, and they weren't trying to hide. They wanted us to know they were here.
Sora steps behind him, pale. Sora, the cult. The sleepless voice?
Erin emerges from the porch. Erin, no. These tracks do not carry mortal weight. They step deep between moments.
Kale frowns. Kale, time magic. Spatial magic. That's beyond our pay grade.
Sora shakes her head. Sora, not anymore. If someone is draining Mistra, anything is possible.
After thanking the farmer, they gather their gear and make their way towards Hamlet once again. Um, the farmhouse fades beyond the rolling hills and that stretch out ahead. The wind is a bit cooler, a little heavy with humidity, but it's nothing unheard of. However, the earth does hum underneath their boots, almost like a faint, distant thunder. And after about an hour of travel or so,
Hey, if we're heading into all this chaos together, shouldn't we have a name? I mean, every great adventuring group needs something memorable. She twirls a spark between her fingers.
Kale grunts, brushing dust from his armor. Names don't win battles. But, they do give people hope. What did you have in mind?
Erin walks with her staff gently touching the earth as she goes. Names are seeds. What we choose will grow with us.
Sora gestures dramatically as she lists name ideas. Okay. Let's pick from these. The Webmenders, Shardseekers, Echo Dawn, Fallen Sky Company, Fracturebound, or The Last Thread. Everyone gets one vote. Don't be boring.
Erin pauses first, her vote seems important. She touches her staff to the soil briefly. Erin, names should speak of purpose. The world is frayed. We seek the broken gods. The broken weave. She lifts her gaze. I vote for The Last Thread.
Kale's turn. Kale walks quietly for a moment, thinking more deeply than Silra expected. Kale, echoes of the past follow me. The future is uncertain. He glances at the others. But we're not running from the fracture. We're facing it. My vote, the fracturebound.
She spins on her heel to walk backward, dramatically clutching her spellbook. Sora, okay, Sue, you picked the poetic sad name, and you picked the gritty serious name. But we're literally trying to fix the magic web, yes? And we're chasing the missing goddess. So in my expert magical opinion, Sora, the Webmenders. She smiles proudly at her own cleverness.
the wind picks up. A faint hum vibrates through the air like a distant singing, coming from nowhere and everywhere. A sign. The magic web itself is listening. Sidera's eyes open, Erin closes hers, and Kale nods.
Fracturebound.
Fracturebound. Bound by the fractures of the world. United to mend what has been broken. Marked by destiny, magic, and Chow.s. A perfect banner for their journey into Hamlet.
As they continue on their walk, just chatting after figuring out what they're going to call themselves, Kale spots on the side of the road, carved into a broken stone column, a symbol. It's a vertical eye with no pupil, only a spiral of lines inside of it, like a whirlpool. A mark none of them recognize.
He narrows his eyes, leaning closer, but not touching the symbol. This wasn't made with a tool. He points at the spiral. These grooves are too clean. Too perfect. Like the stone carved itself. His jaw tightens. If this is the cult, they have power.
Sparks rise from her fingertips as she inspects the symbol. Silra, the sleepless voice. The cult that doesn't pray but listens. She shivers. Symbols like this usually act as conduits. Anchors. Maybe even invitations. She taps her chin. Or wars. Surveillance. One of the lines in the symbol pulses faintly, making her step back.
Erin doesn't approach. She kneels 5 feet away, staff resting lightly in her palms. Spore lights drift from her shoulders and refuse to cross the boundary around the stone. Erin. The land avoids it. The plants recoil. The spirits whisper. Her voice grows quieter, as though not wishing to be overheard. This mark does not simply belong to the CU. It is the cult.
Meaning?
Erin closes her eyes. Erin, meaning, the sleepless voice has touched this place. And through it, it may be watching us even now.
Kale kneels beside the stone, tracing the sigil with his eyes, never with his hand. Zerdra pulls out a rough parchment mapping of the region, and Erin listens to the land itself, letting her spores drift like tiny winters to the wind. The group quietly agrees that they won't tamper with the seal. However, they will mark it down. As they continue upon their journey, the ground below starts to rumble and then cracks open, thus making everyone make a dexterity saving check.
Erin, D20 plus 2, 10.
Silra, D20 plus 2, 17. Kale, D20 plus 2, 14.
Zero takes a leap back uh, as sparks fly where she leapt. Kale brings up his shield, bracing against the wave as he takes another leap back as well. But Erin fails. She takes 8 force damage, and Kale and Serdor take 4 as they both pass. And then, all of a sudden, the crack in the ground snaps shut like a door being slammed closed. But now, everything looks like normal.
Erin staggers, clutching her arm as spores flicker weakly. Erin, that was not a natural tear. Something is pushing through.
Silra bites her lip, fear and excitement mixed. Silra, this is only the beginning. Hamlot is going to be worse.
Kale gazes east, jaw tightening. Kale, then we don't stop. We finish this.
As the sun dips lower, the party crests a hill and sees the silhouette of Hamlet in the far distance. Hamlet, the new capital, built on the ruins of once a magnificent floating city, it sprawls with strange beauty and unsettling shadows. Tall buildings lean slightly, stabilized with mismatched stone and broken sky crystals. Glowing ruins flicker along the old foundation platforms, glitching like falling stars. And as far beyond the city walls, the black tower rises. Impossible geometry, smooth surface, no windows or doors, just like the old farmer said.
Kale stops dead in his tracks. By the gods! That's no ruin.
Silra's voice cracks. That's a spell. A building made from a spell.
Silra's voice cracks. Silra, that's a spell. A building made from a spell.
As night begins to fall, they begin setting up their camp at the top of the hill where it overlooks everything. Perhaps it's the safest spot for them to take a rest before entering the unknown.
Kale sets down his pack and begins arranging stones into a makeshift fire ring. Kale, we sleep in shifts. I'll take first watch. That tower doesn't sit right with me. He glances at the structure again. Even from here, it looks wrong. Like it's not truly standing, but being held in place by sheer will.
Silra sits cross-legged, lighting the fire with a tiny spark of magic. Fwoosh! A soft teal flame bursts, then settles into normal orange. There. No wild surges. Yet. She eyes the tower. Do you think it's empty? Oh, are inhabited? Her fingers twitch nervously.
Erin sets her staff beside her and lays out small dried herbs and spores, forming a protective circle around the camp. Erin, the night is restless. The land speaks softly here. But the shadow of the tower mutes it. She presses a palm to the earth. Erin, if something stirs below the city, we will feel it.
The night is eerily quiet. No animals, no insects, not even wind. The only sound is the faint hum in the distance. Like a note being held for too long, where it's kind of starts like resonating throughout your body, but in this case, it's the earth. As the fire dies down and their watch rotation begins, two strange things happen. A tiny blue light drifts upward from Hamlet like a spark or soul. Anywho, it rises into the air and vanishes into the fractured sky. And then the black tower shifts, not physically, but the outline blurs for just a split second, as if it was existing in two places at once. As the night goes on, the campfire crackles softly. The trio takes their shifts, their eyes never straying from the looming shape of Hamlet and the impossible tower. The world feels like it's paused, like it's holding its breath waiting for something to happen, but just doesn't know yet. As the night rolls on, Kale is on watch. The night is too still. Then, shortly after, the wind picks up, and Kale notices something, just a faint outline at the bottom of the hill. A silhouette, not moving, just a watching. The moonlight bends strangely around this silhouette. It's shaped like a humanoid, but it's stretched like a person pulled slightly too tall and a little too thin. The moonlight is just bright enough where you can see that this thing has no face. Instead, it has a single spiraling eye glowing faintly with a bluish white light reflecting from it.
Kale's hand slips to his sword. His echo flickers behind him in response. A silent mirror emerging from the unstable weave. Kale, whispering, up. Now. We're not alone.
Sora wakes with a spark. She jerks awake, hair lifting with static. She follows Kale's gaze and freezes. Oh gods. It's real.
The Watcher tilts his head, not left or right, just slightly forward as if listening.
Erin's spores flare instantly as she rises. She steps forward. She recognizes the stillness, the emptiness. This one is touched by the sleepless voice.
The figure slowly raises his hand. Its movement smooth and impossible, like a puppet moving without strings. It points towards Hamlet, not threatening, not attacking, just indicating. And then the spiral eye brightens a cold, shimmering light. For a moment, the fracturebound heard something. A whisper, like breath on the back of the neck. Just 2 words. Come here. Both Sura and Aaron cover their ears. Kale takes a half step forward in front of both, and then the Watcher fades, not stepping back, not vanishing in smoke, just simply becomes thinner and less present, less real, until the night breeze blows through it, as if it was never there at all. Just faint, light footprints remain where it stood. The silence returns, but now different. The hum of the earth grows louder for a heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom. And then still. Hamlet glows in the distance. The black tower no longer flickers. It stands perfectly still, as if aware of what just happened.
Kale tightens his grip. That wasn't a message. It was an invitation.
Sora shivers. Sora, or a warning.
Erin's spores dim. Either way, our path is chosen.
The rest of the night passes unsettled. Shadows shifting on the edges of visions, but no further visitors. Morning light breaks across the ravaged horizon, washing over Hamlet in a pale gold. The black tower no longer flickers, it stands perfect, ominous, silent. The air feels cold against the skin, but heavy with the scent of magic waiting to break. The fracturebound gather their gears stamping out the last embers of the fire as they prepare their descent towards Hamlet. And then, as they take a few steps forward, they notice someone at the bottom of the hill as they show their eyes against the sun peeking over the rolling hills in the city. Winding down the road, a lone figure staggers towards them. Hood torn, clothes muddy, steps uneven, a traveler. He looks terrified. Stay back. You're not with them, are you?
Kale steps forward cautiously. Kale, we're not here to hurt you. Who are you talking about?
Silra notices immediately. His pupils are tiny, barely visible. His hands twitch rhythmically. And every few seconds he flinches at something none of them can see. He's sleep-deprived. But something else is riding him. Look at the V.N.S. That's arcane strain.
Erin kneels beside him, letting spores hover around her palm. Peace. You are safe here.
His breathing slows slightly, but only slightly. You must not go to Hamlet. The city, it's changing. The people are changing. He looks upward, eyes wild. Their voices in the walls, the streets, are dreams. He puts his hands up to his head and shakes his head violently. We can't sleep anymore. The tower won't let us. And then he collapses into despair.
Silra stiffens. You've seen the tower up close?
It wasn't there a week ago. It just appeared. Black stone, no doors or windows. And the closer you get, he grabs Kale's arm, surprisingly strong. The more it watches you.
Kale freezes. Kale watches. How?
The man shudders. He'd say, It watches with dreams that aren't yours, with footsteps behind you leaving no sound, faces that aren't faces. Some people walk towards it and just never stop, just keep walking right into the stone. He looks up at them with raw desperation. I'm begging you. Please just don't go there. Just don't go. And then suddenly the traveler's body tenses up like a puppet whose strings have been yanked on. His head jerks back towards the tower. His voice shifts, whispering the same words that the watcher said. Come here. And then he collapses onto the ground, unconscious, completely still, breathing shallow but alive.
Kale kneels beside the unconscious traveler, checking his pulse. It's weak, but steady. Whatever seized him has released its grip, at least for now.
Silra digs quickly through her pack. Silra, we can't take him with us. He'd slow us down, and if that voice grabs him again. She shakes her head, eyes soft. He needs rest more than anything.
Aaron nods, already unpacking cloth and stakes. Aaron, let us build him a shelter. The earth will protect those who cannot protect themselves.
In minutes, the fracturebound set up a small canvas tent just off the road underneath some trees whose branches bow low, creating natural cover. Inside a blanket fort, or inside a folded blanket, a water skin, some dried meat, and a lantern. And an old cloak tucked underneath his head as a pillow. They carried the traveler inside and set the man in. The man doesn't stir and still lost in whatever nightmare resides in him. Then they gently close the flap.
Kale, there. If anything comes this way, he'll be hidden.
Aaron sets a small circle of protective spores around the entrance. They glow faintly, like tiny drifting embers. Aaron, the fungi will alert him, or us, if something crosses their threshold.
Silra snaps her fingers and places a small mark on the tent pole. A ward. If he wakes and panics, it'll calm the weave around him. Maybe stop on the R episode.
The three stand facing the tent. The wind blows uphill from Hamlock, carrying a faint, distant hum. As they did what they can for the man, they set their gaze on the dark tower, and maybe even Hamlet that sits just behind it. The fracture-bound descend along the slope towards Hamlet. The morning sun climbs higher and higher, casting long, fractured shadows over the city, built upon the broken skystone. As they reach the edge of the farmlands outside of the outer district, the ground shudders.
Kale. His hand snaps to his sword. Brace yourselves.
The tremors surge, loose stone rattles. The cracked road splinters further. Old ruins flicker beneath the dust.
Kale spreads his stance, planting his boots into the shifting earth.
Her hair lifts with static as the weave around her churns. The tremor resonates with the unstable magic inside her chest, pulling at her like a magnet. It's not natural, this is magical tectonics. Something under the city is waking up. One of her sparks snaps into a streamer of blue lightning that cracks harmlessly into the air.
Her spores flare, drifting wildly in patterns she cannot control. Aaron drops to one knee, palm pressed into the trembling ground. Her eyes widen, glowing faint moss green. Aaron, it's breathing. Something below Hamlet is alive.
The tremors intensify just for a moment. The earth flexes like a heartbeat, a slow, heavy thump, pulsing outward from the direction of the black tower, and then silence. Total, complete silence. The wind dies, the birds stop calling. Even silver sparks dim as the three of them stand perfectly still. Hamlet responds from a distance. A chorus of voice ruptures, shouting and screaming. People running amongst the streets. The tremor might have been small here, but inside the city, something massive shifted.
Kale's grip tightens. That wasn't just a quake.
Silra looks pale. That was a pulse. A magical pulse. Like the Tau. R. Exhaled.
Aaron rises slowly. We must go. Before the next pulse reaches us.
As a fracturebound rush towards Hamlet's outskirt, the city finally comes into full view, and what they see is far worse than anything that they could imagine. The tremor aftermath has transformed the outer district into fractured chaos. Wind whips cracking against broken stone. Magic flickers in the air like heat haze, and three separate horrors unfold at once. A collapsed section of the city wall, panicked citizens fleeing the streets, and buildings phasing in and out of reality. At the collapsed section of the wall, a massive chunk of Hamlet's outer wall has fallen inward. The stone cracked open like an egg. Ancient ruins from the fallen Sky City glow erratically, and the break, sparkling, sizzling, and flickering between symbols none of them recognize.
Kale stops first, staring at the exposed innards of the wall. These runes, they're not defensive wards. They're binding sigils.
Sora crouches beside one of the glowing shards. And their ancient Sky City script. Much older than the tower. She touches her temple. Something is undoing the city from the inside.
The collapsed stone hums, vibrating like it's trying to pull itself back together, but it's failing. As the party approaches the breach, a crowd of terrifying townsfolk flood out of the nearby market street. Children clutched under arms, baskets dropped, carts overturned. A woman shouts, "The ground split open near the river district. The lights! The lights came back on!" Another yells, "The tower! It's spoken!" A third one screams.
Kale moves aside to let them through. They're fleeing from something worse than the tremor.
A man grabs Sora's sleeve in desperation. "Don't go in there! The city's waking up and it's hungry."
Sora's spark flares involuntarily. Sora, we have to.
The man runs off, fleeing the city. To the left of the broken wall, something flickers violently. A small house, 2 stories, patched roof, an old wooden sign. It's phasing in and out of existence, not flickering like magic, but shifting. One moment it's solid stone, the next ghostly transparent. Then, next, it's not there at all.
Aaron steps closer, breath fogging in the air though the temperature hasn't changed. The anchor stone beneath it is broken. The weave around this place is thinning.
A child stands by, staring in fear. Every time the building flickers, he gasps like it's yanking his breath away.
Kale grabs him gently and pulls him back. "Where's your family?"
The boy points shakily towards the deep city. "Inside? They can't get out?" The party exchanges a grim look. Everything points one way. The collapsed walls, fleeing citizens, the buildings slipping in and out of existence. All signs converge in the same direction, towards the heart of Hamlet.
Sora swallows hard. This is just the edge. Inside. It's going to be worse.
Kale nods. "Then we move. Before the city decides it wants to swallow itself."
Aaron's spores glow softly, like lanterns preparing for a dark road. The sleepless voice is singing. We must follow before the chorus grows.
The fracturebound sprint towards the flickering building, the child following close behind. until Kale signals him to stay back. The house begins to shift even more aggressively, half of the structure fading in into a ghostly transparency. The air around it ripples like heat off stone, bending light and bending reality.
Silra, the anchor is collapsing, we don't have much time.
Erin kneels briefly, pressing her palm to the trembling ground. Her spores surge outward like drifting fireflies. The tether is slipping in cycles. We enter on the next stabilization. When I say go, go.
The house flickers, solid. Ghost. Gone. Solid.
Now.
Kale charges through the doorway.
Silra follows, lightning sparking off her fingertips.
Erin slips in last, spores forming a soft green halo around her.
It feels like they're stepping into a dream mid-collapse. Furniture, it's half transparent. Dust hangs suspended in midair. One wall bends inward like someone pushed it with a giant thumb, and from the kitchen, a voice crying out. A woman's voice. Please, someone, help us.
Kale leaps over a flickering chunk of floor, reaching the doorway.
Inside he finds a mother clutching a toddler, an old man pinned underneath a fallen beam, the floor beneath them glitching like a broken illusion. Every few seconds their bodies flicker, phasing in and out of existence along with the house.
Kale, we've got them. Silra, beam.
Silra thrusts out both hands, lightning swirling. But instead of blasting the beam, she channels the charge into the anchor stone embedded in the floor. A burst of blue sparks stabilizes the room for 3 seconds. Silra, Kale, now.
Kale lifts the beam with a roar, pulling the old man free.
Erin steps in, spores coating her arms, and slaps her palm against his chest. Erin, stay with us. Breathe.
The man fading outline solidifies, just as the house begins to tremble again.
Erin, we must move.
Silra, the anchor is collapsing, Geo.
They charge back towards the exit. Halfway through the living room, the entire space turns ghostly. Kale feels the floor vanish beneath his boots.
Erin yanks him with a vine whip of fungal growth.
He stumbles forward, catching the toddler as the mother runs. The door flickers to transparency, and then back to solid, and they burst out of the house just before it completely phases out of reality. For an eerie moment, the structure hovers ghost-like, and then, with a soft, inverted sound, like a breath being sucked inward, it disappears, gone, erased from their weave. Only the family and the party remain. The boy who led them to the house runs up to his parents, crying in relief.
Kale wipes his forehead. Kale, that was too close.
Silra's sparks sputter weakly as she exhales. Hamlot is falling apart.
Erin looks toward the city center. Then we must go where the collapse began.
The fracturebound push deeper into Hamlet. The streets twist with a broken sky tone and scattered magic fractures. Buildings shimmer, windows show reflections that don't match the people that walk by. Ahead, through the uneven skyline, the black tower rises, like a blade of black obsidian carved into the world. Every step closer feels heavier, as though gravity itself bends around it. Screams, panic, shouts, and strange humming noises echo between the warped buildings.
Kale leads, his hand on the hilt of his blade. Unsure of what could come next. Everyone stays sharp. The next tremor could hit any second.
Silra presses a hand to a flickering streetlight rune. We aren't just walking into danger. We're walking into the heart of the weave's collapse.
Erin nods, her spores drifting like tiny lanterns. The sleepless voice sings loudest at the center.
The fracturebound reached the city center just as another low tremor ripples through the stone beneath their very feet. The street ahead of you is simply gone. Where the Grand Plaza once stood is now a vast crater, its edges jagged and glassed as if reality itself melted and collapsed inward. Broken street spirals down into darkness. Ancient ruins, older than Hamlet, older than memory, crawl along the crater walls, glowing in a dimming like dying embers. And from below, something moves. A slow, deliberate shifting. The stone grinding against stone. The wet, organic sound that does not belong on the ground.
Kale steps forward, peering into the abyss. That's no cave-in.
A massive shadow passes beneath the lowest visible ledge, briefly outlined by the runes. Glow, too large, too sinisterous, and moving with intent.
Silra's breath catches. That's not just magic runoff. That's a presence.
Erin's spores recoil, clustering close to her shoulders. It feeds below. The tremors were not accidents. They were movements.
The sleepless voice is not only speaking, it's making space.
Then Silra notices something above the crater. Suspended in midair, slowly rotating, is a massive shard of the old sky. City. A fractured platform of marble and crystal, its underside dripping light like liquid starlight. Runes blaze across it in unstable patterns, cycling too fast to read. It hums with power. Not dark. Not corrupt. Ancient. That shard. It's still connected to the original weave. Barely. But it's acting like a stabilizer.
Kale looks from the crater to the shard. Meaning if it falls.
Silra, the whole district goes with it.
Erin closes her eyes, listening. The shard resists the voice. It is being strained, pulled, and it is losing.
As if in answer, the shard jerks suddenly, dipping several feet below before stabilizing again. A pulse ripples outward. The thing in the crater stirs. The situation? At the heart of Hamlet, below, a massive unseen entity is moving beneath the city, widening the wound in reality. Above, a floating city shard acting as the last brace holding this section together. In between them, the fractured bound standing at the fault line between the collapsed and catastrophe. The black tower looms just beyond the plaza, closer than ever now. Its surface ripples faintly like it's aware of them. The fracturebound wastes no time. The floating sky shard shudders again, dropping another foot as it cracks a raw magic spiderweb across its surface. Each pulse pulls at the crater below, like breath drawn before a scream.
Silra, if this thing falls, the city center is gone. Give me 30 seconds of focus.
Kale nods and plants himself between Silra and the crater. You'll have them.
Erin spreads her arms, spores blooming outward like a living constellation. The old weave still remembers how to hold. We just have to remind it.
Silra steps forward, hands tracing ancient sky runes midair. Lightning crackles, not wild, but disciplined. She forces her magic to sync with the shard instead of overpower it.
The shard responds slowly. The runes stop flickering randomly and begin to cycle rhythmically.
Erin slams her staff into the ground. Fungal growth erupts in glowing lines, racing across the plaza's stones and up the crater's edge, forming a natural ley web, bridging broken magic pathways. Erin, hold, hold, hold.
The spores fuse with the ancient runes, creating a hybrid weave. Old magic reinforced with living resilience.
As the ground bucks, Kale drives his blade into a fractured stone and anchors himself, bracing against a sudden pull toward the crater. A massive shadow passes below. Kale does not look away. You're not taking this city. Not today. He shifts rubble into place, redirecting stress fractures just long enough.
The shard locks into place. A deep, resonant thump echoes throughout Hamlot. Not a roar, not a growl, but a stabilizing chord. The floating sky shard rises several feet, settling into a steady orbit above the crater. The plaza stops collapsing. Tremors fade for now.
Silra staggers back, breathing hard. It's stable. But only barely. Something below is still pulling.
Erin's spores dim. We bought time, not safety.
Kale turns slowly toward the crater. Then we use that time.
With the shard stabilized quickly enough, the fracture-bound dare to approach the crater's edge. The runes along the walls flare brighter as they draw near. Not a warning, but recognition. A gust of divine wind rises from below, carrying the scent of a storm-touched sky and high mountain air. And then a voice, not a whisper, not a scream, broken, exhausted, furious, echoing from below. The sky. They caged the sky. And then a massive shape shifts beneath the lowest ledge. Feathers? Vast, luminous feathers, torn and dim, briefly catching the rune's light.
Silra's eyes go wide. That presence. That's not a monster.
Erin drops to one knee, breath caught in her throat. It is a goddess. Wounded. Drained.
Kale grips his sword tighter, not in threat, but in awe. A god did this?
The presence stirs again, weak but burning with an ancient fury. Iridia. Fenya. faint and fractured. They took my winds, my freedom, my name. A pulse of divine pressure ripples outward, gentler now, controlled by the shard above.
Silra swallows. Airdry Fenia. Elven goddess of the skies.
Aaron looks toward the black tower. Aaron, not escaped. Discarded. Whatever drains gods, is done with her.
The air above the crater stills. The runes along the wall shift from warning to reverence, glowing a soft sky blue as the presence below gathers what little strength remains. A current of wind spirals upward, not violently or wildly, but ancient.
Airdry Fenia, weak but clearer. The one who binds us. Who drinks the weave and the wind. The wind carries her words through the plaza. They were once.
Suddenly, a sharp crack cuts through the air, not thunder, a ritual snap. The runes around the crater invert, twisting violently as dark sigils overlay the ancient sky script.
Silra whirls. Someone just hijacked the circle.
Figures step out of thin air around the plaza's edge. 7 total. They emerge from folded space, cloaked in layers of robes of gray ash and deep violet, their faces hidden beneath porcelain masks carved with a spiral eye. The same symbol, the whispers given flesh. Each cultist holds a shard of black crystal humming with stolen magic. One steps forward, taller than the rest, masked or marked with golden outlines. The cultist speaks. Enough, winged thing. He raises the crystal. The wind chokes mid-spiral. Eridine's presence recoils below with a pained cry.
Airdry Fenia. You.
The cultist cuts her off, raising the gem closer. Your name has already been spent. The plaza darkens as the cult completes a half-formed ritual. The sky shard above flickers, straining against their interference. The crater runes war with inverted sigils. Iridia's voice fades, trapped behind a veil of suppressive magic.
Silra clenches her fists. They're siphoning what little she has left, right now.
Kale steps forward, blade raised. You're not taking her.
The cultists spread out, forming a ritual combat formation, half preparing their spells, half drawing curved sacrificial blades.
Aaron's spores flare bright green. Aaron, they are afraid. They came quickly. Which means she matters.
The league cultist tilts his head towards the tower. The sleeper stirs, kill the anchor. His gaze locks on the fracturebound.
Silra's turn. Her eyes snap to the cult speaker. You don't get to silence a god. She raises her hand and casts Chaos Bolt, first level. Attack roll, hit. Damage. 1d8 force plus 1d6 lightning equals 11 damage. The bolt slams into the cult speaker's chest, cracking his crystal focus. High voltage wild magic surge check, triggered. Surge result, arcane pulse. A ripple of unstable magic spreads outward. Backhand index pointing right effect. All creatures within 10 feet must make a DX save.
The two cultists fail, taking 4 points of force damage each, causing them to stumble backward a little bit, but they regain their footing. It's the cult speaker's turn. You delay the inevitable. He raises a black crystal and evokes Siphon Deity. Targeting Aerodine also lashes out, causing her to also causing Kale and Sarah to make wisdom saves. They Kale passes and Sarah fails, taking 5 points of psychic. Aerodine's voice shrieks out and then stops. And then the sky shard flickers.
Kale's turn. Kale roars and charges straight at the cult speaker. Action, longsword attack. Attack roll, hit. Damage, 8 slashing. He follows with second wind, bonus action. Kale regains 6 HP. He plants himself between the speaker and the crater. You want her? You go through me.
The cults is split into 2 groups of 3. 3 for Kale and 3 for Silra. 2 of them hit Kale, 1 misses. Kale takes a total of 7 slashing damage from their sacrificial daggers. The 3 that hit or go after Sora, 1 hit doing 4 points of damage to her with the same sacrificial daggers. And then one of the cultists breaks off with this last bit of movement and begins a secondary chant aimed at the sky shard, causing it to drop slightly.
Erin's turn. Her eyes glow moss green. Erin, you defile what still lives. She casts Entangle centered on the chanting cultist group. Saving throws. 2 cultists restrained. 1 cultist breaks free. Vines burst from cracked stone, dragging cultists to their knees. As a bonus action, Erin triggers Halo of Spores. 1 restrained cultist takes 4 necrotic damage and collapses, dead.
At the start of the second round, I need everyone to make a dexterity saving check. Kale and Sarah passes and everyone else fails. Erin is knocked prone. The 2 cultists fall towards the crater's edge. One of them slips into the crater, screaming until silence. Not even a thud.
Silra's turn. Silra grits her teeth, bleeding from the nose. She casts Chromatic Orb, Thunder, at the cult speaker. Attack, hit. Damage, 13 thunder. The blast shatters the speaker's crystal focus. He staggers, badly wounded. Wild magic surge, no surge.
The cult speaker's turn. He slams his staff on the ground, enraged. Fine, I'll just take you instead. As he casts Inflict Wounds on Kale, dealing 14 points of necrotic damage. Dark veins crawl briefly through Kale's armor, Aerodine screams and the crater pulses below.
Kale's turn. Barely standing, Kale raises his sword with both hands. Kale, for the sky. Attack, hit. Damage, 9 slashing. The cult speaker drops to one knee. Kale uses action surge. Second attack, hit. Damage, 7 slashing.
The cult speaker is slain. His body disintegrates into ash, masked, cracking in half. The suppressive ritual instantly ends. The spiral cultists turn, the two remaining, seeing their leader fall, hesitates. One of them attempts to free. Sora misses her opportunity attack, but is caught by Aaron's spores, causing 5 necrotic damage to him, and then he collapsed, leaving one left standing. As he runs off as well.
Aaron's turn. Aaron rises and gestures sharply. Roots snap shut around the fleeing cultist's legs. Aaron, no more running.
Kale finishes him with a swift strike.
As combat winds down, silence crashes over the plaza. The sky shard stabilizes slightly, and the crater grows softens. Aaron died. Voice returns, faint but clear. You broke the chains?
Sora collapses to one knee.
Kale plants his sword in the stone to stay upright.
Aaron looks toward the tower, spores dimming. They were not the source. Only servants.
The broken cultist mask lies at Kale's feet. Its inner lining bears a sigil, a crown over the spiral void. The plaza is quiet now, too quiet. The hum of the sky shard steadies into a low, arching cloud. The ruins along the crater wall soften from warning red to blue skies. A current gust of wind rises gently, but no longer violent or panic, just a soothing breeze. Feathers of pale light drift upward from the crater, dissolving before they can touch the ground. Erdine's voice returns clearer, though still strained, like a storm held behind the glass. Hear me, fracturebound, before the cage tightens again. The wind carries her words directly to them, no echo or distortion. The one who binds gods was mortal once. Seeing the party's reaction, kinda surprised, but not really. Erdine, a weaver who sought to repair what is broken and chooses to replace us instead. The ground tremors softly. They call themselves Axum. The name hits the air like a drop of the blade. The ruins flare around.
Sora gasps. That's not a name. That's a principle.
Aerodine continues. Urges see bleeding through. They drained us not for our power alone, but to become the ruler that governs magic itself. Mistra lives, but bound at the center of the tower reacts. The world lurches. Uh, the black tower ripples violently, its surface no longer smooth, but fractured into impossible angles, like reality trying to reject its shape. A deafening crack splits the sky. The tower turns, not physically, conceptually. It becomes aware of the name spoken, as it sends a pulse outward, far stronger than the ones before, sending another wave out across the land. And now, with that happening, while magic itself is further destabilized, and how this works is causing, instead of a d20 roll for wild magic surge, it drops down to a d6. That's how that works mechanically. The immediate effects of this, the air fractures into a prismatic shard for our heartbeat. Gravity pulls sideways for half a second. Sura is lifted off her feet, hair blazing with uncontrollable sparks. Even Aaron's spores scatter wildly and turning black before dissolving. Kale's shadow just moves out of sync with his body, and then silence. The tower stills, but no longer dormant.
Kale exhales slowly. So we're not saving a god.
Silra looks at her shaking hands. We're stopping someone from becoming one.
Aaron turns toward the tower, spores dim but resolute. And the world will not survive. Another failure.
The crater seals partly with glowing ruins, suppressing Aerodine again. Not captured, but contained. The sky shard remains stable for now. The name lingers in the air like a curse. But the wind stirs again, not violently this time, but carefully, as whatever presence remains below the crater is choosing each breath. The runes glow softly. A voice returns, weaker than before, but just as urgent. Listen, while the veil thins, I was not alone in this prison. There were others who were being drained as well.
Silra's blood runs cold. Quiet gods.
The others bound within its heart, gods, demigods, principles given form. Her voice wavers, not from fear, but from grief. He siphons us through a latency of magic I've never seen, not in the first weave, nor in this broken age. The air tightens. This is not spellcraft as you know it. It's
Kale clenches his jaw. So the tower is a battery.
not quite, but it's similar.
Aaron steps closer to the crater's edge, spores trembling. What kind of magic binds gods?
Eric Dean answers, Axum doesn't drain the powers of the way mortals steal magic. They drain their essence. It's like a storm without a sky, magic without choice, death without rest. As they hear a faint scream echo from the tower. Not sound, but pressure. They are, this is Erdine. They're being reduced, but not killed, drained of their former selves.
Silra's wild magic flares and collapses inward. That explains why the surges feel wrong. It's not chaos. It's forced order breaking.
Kale looks up at the tower. So how do we stop it?
You cannot tear down the tower yet, not at your strength. But you can wound the system. The runes that run along the crater flicker, forming a partly sigil. There are anchors, conduits where the essence is drawn. Break enough of those, and it will slow things down. And then no more whispers on the wind. The party levels up on their next long rest, being level 4 now. Alrighty, that brings so
Air dry. I can guide you. But only once before the tower learns how.
the dust forms a crude but unmistakable image, a ruined sky spire, half buried in the earth, its upper half shattered and lying like a fallen spear across the ravine. Fragments of floating stone still hover weakly around it, drifting slowly.
Air dry. This was once a conduit of harmony. Now it is a drain.
The image begins to sharpen as the wind sways. They see a blackened vein crystal root embedded deep in the spire, runes overwritten by angular and mathematic sigils, a constant pull like breath drawn inward.
Air dry. Axiom bound this anchor first. It feeds on ambient magic and the residue of belief.
Silra's eyes narrow. So destroying it would starve part of the system.
Air dry. Yes. But it will not be unguarded. It is watched by those who have forgotten themselves.
The dust map shows silhouettes, winged shaped with torn feathers of stone in shadow. Humanoid figures bound into floating ruined frames.
Air dry. A warden remains. Not divine, but built to restrain the divine.
Kale exhales slowly. How far?
The dust stretches outwards, forming distance markers. From the looks of it, it looks like it will be about a 2 days travel from Hamlot, past the Shard Fall Ravine. And then with one final breeze, the image dissolves. The fracturebound don't linger much longer. As Hamlot groans around them, crackling stone, misfiring wards, citizens packing lives into bundles and carts as they leave out. The sky shard above the crater holds just barely, though, and our group begins to head on their way. They pass through the outer streets and then beyond the walls onto the broken roads leading to Shardfall Ravine. The tower remains visible behind them for miles, always watching. As they reach the final outskirts of Hamlet, there's no wind, no sound. Even Sora's magic goes quiet. The world flattens like a page pressed shut. And then a figure stands in the road ahead. It did not arrive, it just simply appeared there. The figure wears no armor, no robe. Instead, its body edged with floating sigils, orbiting slowly like obedient thoughts. Its face smooth, featureless, save for a single vertical line with light where the mouth should be. When it speaks, its lips do not move. Deviation detected.
Kale draws his sword.
You have observed restricted truths. You intend to damage the structure node.
Silra's wild magic stirs violently. You're not human.
Correct. I am a projection.
Erin's spores curl inward. A threat?
No, just a warning. The sigils around it reconfigure, forming and shifting diagrams of broken spire. Anchor's destruction will result in widespread magical catastrophes, uncontrolled deity bleed, irreversible systematic collapse. Acceptable losses threshold have been calculated.
Kale steps forward, blade leveled. Not by us.
The figure raises one hand, and then the air splits, revealing a brief vision of Hamlet stabilized, magic regulated, no surges, no screaming skies. Compliance yields stability. And then the vision shifts to the gods, reduced to drifting lights, mortals casting magic by permission only, the tower internal. Freedom is inefficient, he says.
Sora shakes, fury in her eyes. You're not fixing the world. You're overwriting it.
The figure's sigil dims slightly. Correction noted. The figure begins to dissolve, not fading, but being erased from the present. You'll be observed. Interference will escalate. As it vanishes, one final glyph burns itself briefly into the dirt. 7. 7 anchors. And then the world snumps back. When returns, birds crying out in alarm. The road lies empty ahead. The road to Shardfall Ravine is broken but passable. Ancient stone slabs cracked by time, old sky ruins half buried in the earth like fallen constellations. For the most of the morning the journey is quiet, too quiet.
Sora keeps glancing at her hands.
A scream splits the air, not close, but not that far. Then the sky fractures, not clouds. The color of the sky tears like fabric, revealing streaks of raw arcane light. The ground ahead erupts and blooms into impossible energy. Trees freeze mid-sway, birds turn to glass and shatter. The road melts then refreezes into twisted angles.
Kale skids to a stop. That's not a surge. That's a failure.
Aaron drops to one knee, gagging his life around her spasms. Aaron, the weave. Snapped here.
About 50 yards ahead lies a wild magic deadfall, a small caravan crossing completely consumed by magical backlash. Inside the zone, a wagon half phased into stone, a horse frozen mid-run, now a statue of salt. 3 figures on the ground. Alive? Maybe. Magic crackles constantly, like lightning trapped in fog.
Silra's chest tightens. Someone cast during a surge cascade. This is what it does when it hits zero control.
A fresh ripple surges outward. I'm gonna go ahead and roll a d6 here and see what happens. Alrighty, cool. Gravity inverts in the zone for several seconds. The wagon lifts, turning upside down, and then slams back into the road. One of the figures scream. The zone is unstable and expanding slowly. Within moments, it could swallow the road entirely, cutting off this route to the broken spire. The survivors inside are trapped. The magic is feeding on interference. The surge zone howls, colors invert, sounds stretched, the road screams like metal under strain.
Kale steps forward anyway. We're not leaving them.
Silra swallows hard, her palm burning.
Aaron's spores recoil, then flare defiantly.
And then the magic stops screaming, not calming or healing, just paused, as if reality itself has been told to wait. The same figure reappears as the air folds inward. The survivors freeze mid-motion, suspended like figures in amber. Catastrophic instability detected. He gazes past the fracturebound. Intervention authorized.
Silra's eyes blaze. You caused this.
Incorrect. This is a side effect of incomplete governments. The sigils around the omen expand, forming geometric lattices over the catastrophe zone, angles snapping into place, equations writing themselves into light. The wild magic thrashes against it. Axum does not soothe the surge. It pins it down. Gravity locks into a single vector. Arcane energy is forced into tight channels. The sky reseals with a sound like stone grinding. The wagon slams back into its proper space. The salt statue horse crumbles, reduced to inert matter. 2 surviving people collapse, gasping, as the third one screams as the sigils glow briefly into their skin and then fading.
Aaron staggers. You're not healing it. You're amputating the magic.
Correct. With the zone held into place, the fracture-bound move.
Kale hauls one survivor free of the fused wagon wreckage.
Silra braces herself and reaches into the pin surge, carefully pulling a woman whose legs flicker in and out of phase.
A surge tries to trigger, the lattice tightens around it as the surge is suppressed, but causing Silra to take 3 psychic damage from the backlash.
Aaron kneels, spores flowing gently now, stabilizing breath, heartbeats, life.
All 3 survivors are pulled clear, alive, shaken, but alive. The figure lowers its hand. The lattice collapses inward, compressing the remaining wild magic into a singular black crystal shard embedded in the road. The surrounding land becomes dull, not dead, but muted. Area stabilized. Magic potency reduced by 63%.
Silra stares at the crystal. You just killed magic here.
No, I prevented suffering. It uncannily turns its attention to them fully now. This is the future you oppose. Observe the efficiency. The projection begins to dissolve, but before it vanishes, it leaves one final statement, direct and deliberate. You'll be offered this choice again with higher stakes. Then it's gone. The road is passable again. The survivors cling to each other, shaken, understandably. So, whispering things that they don't fully understand.
Aaron looks at the lifeless crystal embedded in the stone. That place will never grow the same again.
Kale looks ahead toward Shardfall Ravine. But they're alive.
Silra closes her fist.
The road is passable
That's how
again.
it wins.
The survivors cling
By
to
being
each other,
right just
shaken,
often enough.
whispering. They don't notice
Thankful
it. They don't fully
the road
understand. Beyond the catastrophe
Aaron,
feels
that place
wrong,
will never
but
grow the same
subtly
again.
so. Sound
Kale
travels
looks ahead
oddly.
toward Shardfall
Footsteps
Ravine.
don't echo the
But
way
they're
they
alive.
should.
Silra closes her
Aaron's
fist.
spores drift
That's
and then
how
sink
it
as if
wins.
the air itself
By
is
being
heavy,
right just often
very near
enough.
the black crystal scar embedded into the stone behind them. They camp that night a cautious distance away. The survivors have already continued on, eager to leave that place behind, leaving the fracturebound alone. Erin wakes first, not to sound, to absence. Her connection with the living world thins sharply like a numb limb.
Quiet, alarmed something is wrong.
The fire still burns, but it gives no warmth.
Silra sits up, instinctively. Silra, I don't feel the weave at all. Not broke. Missing.
That's when they see it. At the edge of the firelight, the darkness moves incorrectly. A shape crawls out of the night, not stepping into the light as so, but displacing it. It resembles a massive hound, made of stretched shadows and exposed pale stone. Its body segmented like broken statuaries stitched together by the void. Where its eyes should be are hollow sockets that drink in light. The ground beneath it frost cracks as it moves.
Aaron gasps. That thing isn't alive.
Kale rises, sword already in hand.
Silra's voice drops to a whisper. It's not undead either.
The creature lifts its head and sniffs the air, not scent, absence. Then it slowly turns, its attention drifting past them,
back towards the distant road, towards the dead magic scar. A familiar voice echoes on the wind. Dead magic is not empty. It's a wound. A wound attracts things that feed on what should be there. And then the creature lets out a sound like grinding marble and exhales as a plume of gray frost.
Kale sets his stance. If it reaches that scar,
Silra nods grimly. It'll grow. Or multiply.
The creature begins to move again, accelerating unnaturally, not towards the party, but towards the place where Axum amputated magic from this world. This is not a random monster. This is a consequence. It feeds. Then dead magic zones will expand. More creatures like it may emerge. The road to the broken spire could become unstable. If they stop it, they risk fighting something partially immune to magic. While magic may behave very strangely nearby, the creature is almost out of sight, moving fast. And
Kale, not letting it feed. He breaks into a sprint, boots pounding cracked stone.
the other two follow, the firelight dying behind them as they rush back towards the dead magic scar in the road. The creature senses its pursuit. It turns and looks at them. Light bends inward around its hollow eye sockets as it lowers its head and charges them. But not fast like a beast, but like it's drawn to them like gravity. The initiative order is the Void Scavenger, Kale, Sura, and then Aaron. The Scavenger exhales a cold gray frost. Doing a 15-foot cone, catching Kale and Aaron. Kale makes a successful save and Aaron fails, taking the whole 9 damage and magic suppression until the end of the next turn, while Kale just takes 4 cold damage. Where the breath touches the ground, stone turns brittle and colorless. The creature then faces forward, its body blurring for a heartbeat, and then closes the distance on Kale.
Kale plants his feet and meets it head-on. Kale, you picked the wrong road. Attack 1, longsword. Hits with 17. 8 slashing damage. The blade bites, but the wound does not bleed. Instead, fragments of pale stone flake away. Attack 2, offhand strike, improvised pommel. Miss 10, the creature's body distorts, momentarily hollow. Still, Kale holds its attention, forcing it away from the scar.
Silra feels it immediately. Her magic resists her. She grimaces. Fine. We do this the hard way. She casts Magic Missile, first level. Wild Magic check, D6-2. A surge triggers. Wild Surge, Arcane Feedback. She takes 3 force damage. The missiles become force anchored, ignoring resistance. Total damage, 10 force. The bolts slam into the scavenger's torso, locking parts of it briefly into solid form. It howls, not in pain, but in loss.
Erin's turn. Still reeling, Erin pushes through the suppression. Her spores dim, but do not vanish. Erin, you don't belong in the living world. She casts Primal Savagery, cantrip. Hit 16. 7 acid damage. The acid works. The stone plating sizzles, revealing void beneath. Aaron's halo of spores triggers as it recoils. For necrotic damage. The creature staggers.
Enraged, it attempts to phase past Kale towards the scar. Kale ends up making an opportunity attack, hitting with a 16, doing 6 slashing damage. The scavenger shrieks, half in, half out of reality. It stays in the material plane and then swipes at Kale with retaliation, hitting with a dirty 20, doing 11 necrotic damage, dropping Kale to one of his knees as frost crawling up his armor.
Breathing hard, Kale looks up, grins. Kale, good. You're real enough. He uses second wind. Regains 8 HP. Then strikes again. Hit 16. 9 slashing damage.
Sora raises both hands. Her magic trembles violently. End, she says. She casts Chromatic Orb, Radiant. Wild Magic check, D66. No surge. Hit 15. 14 radiant damage.
The radiant energy tears through the void's core. The scavenger convulses, trying to crawl, and then collapses, folding inward on itself. The body does not remain and implodes, leaving behind a dusting of pale ash and a faint, cold wind. A single shard of black and white crystal that hums softly. The magic radiates from it and then stops. The dead magic scar stops expanding for now.
Aaron kneels, touching the ground. It was feeding. If it had reached the scar.
Sora picks up the crystal carefully. This is residue. Proof.
Kale steadies himself, looking down the road. Then we move. Before it sends friends.
Aaron studies it carefully, spores drifting in cautious orbits. This isn't a focus. It's a scar you can carry.
Sora nods. It can suppress magic, briefly. Not dispel. Mute.
Kale frowns. And the cost.
Sora takes a deep breath. Every time it's used, something nearby loses magic forever. A spell. A place. Or a piece of someone.
Kale closes Sora's hand around it. Then we don't use it unless the alternative is worse.
The crystal goes into a pack wrapped in cloth and ordered with care. And then they begin to break up camp. They douse the fire, brush away any tracks behind them, and start heading to Shardfall Ravine towards the first anchor. As they travel, the signs grow clearer, floating pebbles drifting without rhythm, ancient sky stone embedded itself in cliff faces, and winds that move upwards instead of across. By midday, the land begins to fall away. They rust arise, and the world opens. Shardfall Ravine. A massive chasm splits the earth, miles long and impossibly deep. Fragments of the old floating cities hang suspended above it like broken teeth, slowly shredding smaller shards that tumble endlessly into the blue-white mist below. And there, on the far side of the ravine, they see it. The broken spire Once a towering sky conduit, now shattered and half embedded into the ravine's edge, its upper half lies snapped and skewed across the chasm, held aloft by flickering anti-gravity runes. Black crystal veins crawl through its base, pulsing, slowly drinking. Wing-shaped circles at its distance, and at its heart, something stands perfectly still, watching. The warden.
Kale exhales. Kale, that's the anchor.
Aaron steps closer to the ravine's edge, eyes tracking the slow, unnatural drift of broken sky stone. These fragments aren't random. They're listening.
Silra nods, feeling the pull in her bones. Residual weave memory. If we disturb it carefully, we might.
Kale doesn't wait for the sentence to finish. He hurls a loose chunk of stone outward, testing the air. The moment it leaves his hand,
The ravine reacts. The thrown stone does not fall, it stops midair, and then another shard nearby twists towards it, and then another, and another, creating this small, like, ball of gravity there. A low, hermetic thrum rolls through the ravine like a plucked string. Runes along the broken spire flare violently. The floating debris begins to reorient itself, forming slowly in a deliberate path like a stepping stone assembled themselves.
Silra, we just pinged the anchor's sensory field.
Aaron's spores scatter, then snap into rigid lines, pointing toward the spire. It felt us.
The warden takes notice. At the heart of the broken spire, the warden moves. Its tall, humanoid outline forged of pale stone. Black crystal veins and hovering rune plates that never quite touch his body. Its head turns with a grinding, deliberate slowness. There's no face, just a vertical slit of cold, blue-white light. The ravine goes silent. The warden steps forward, and debris begins locking in front of him, like a footbridge. It's not an invitation, it's a challenge. A voice echoes not aloud but directly into their minds. Anchor, breach, protocol initiated. The runes flare brighter. Winged sentinels peel away from the spires, taking air, stone feathers scraping against each other as they circle. The bridge holds for now.
Kale tightens his grip. Guess that answers how we get across.
Silra, or how it gets us close enough to kill.
Aaron plants her staff. The land is watching. Choose each step.
The battlefield is set. The shifting bridge of floating debris spans part of the ravine. The warden is fully aware and active. Winged sentinels are airborne and mobilizing. The broken spire anchors. Pulses faster, feeding harder. This is no longer an infiltration. This is an engagement. What shall you guys do? The bridge finishes forming with a final resonant clang. Floating chunks of skystone locked into a jagged, shifting path over an endless drop of Shardfall ravine.
Kale steps onto it first. The stone tilts slightly under his weight, then stabilizes. It'll hold. For now.
Silra exhales and follows, magic humming uncomfortably in her chest.
Aaron brings up the rear, staff tapping each fragment before trusting it.
Below them, the ravine breathes, slow, cold wind rising like an exhale of something very old. And above them, winged sentience. Gargoyles circle watching, but not yet striking. They reach the far side of the ravine. The broken spire rims overhead, black crystal veins pulsing brighter as they draw closer. The warden stands at the anchor's base, rune plates orbiting its body like frozen thoughts. It does not attack, it just simply watches them.
Kale lowers his sword just enough to show intent without surrender. We're here for the anchor. But we're not your enemy.
The warden's head tilts by a fraction of a degree. The runes shift.
Silra steps forward. You're not cult. You're not axiom. You're a system. She focuses, not on spellcasting, but reading the magic.
Yeah, give me an Arcana or Insight check. And say 17 already. She understands that the warden is not sentient in the mortal sense. It's a fail-safe construct created before Axum. Its purpose isn't like to serve him necessarily, like loyally. I wouldn't say that. It's like to make sure things don't go off the rails.
Aaron adds softly, "You guard this place because something worse was expected."
The warden speaks again. Anchor status corrupted. Prime directive prevent uncontrolled divine release.
Kale nods once. Kale, that's exactly why we're here.
The rune plate rotates faster. The warden. Destruction of an anchor will result in essence, backflow, systematic instability, and high probability of casualties.
Silra clenches her fists. Silra, and leaving it intact means gods die slowly.
Silence. Not a pause, but calculation. The warden's head lifts slightly. The warden. New variable detected. Erdine escaped. Suppressed. The air tightens. The warden. Curie. Do you accept responsibilities for resulting the chaos?
Kale answers without hesitation. Yes.
The word echoes across the ravine. The warden raises one arm. The sentinels halt. Wings frozen in mid-beat. The warden. Alternative protocol available. The runes reconfigure, projecting 3 glowing sigils into the air between them. The warden's terms. To proceed without immediate lethal force, the party must choose 1. Containment breach. Proof of intent. Override attempt. The bridge behind them locks into place. There is no retreat without consequence. The fracturebound exchange a single look. No hesitation, no debate.
Kale steps forward, sword coming up, not at the warden, but at the black crystal veins crawling through the broken spire's base. Then watch how we fight.
For the first time, the warden does not object. Its rune plates rotate outward, creating a clear corridor towards the anchor exposed conduits. The warden. Proof. Parameters accepted. Engaging sentinels. The air screams. The sentinels unleashed. 4 winged sentinels peel away from the spires. Constructs of fractured marble and crystal feathered wings, leaving contrails of pale light as they dive. The bridge behind the party reconfigures, cutting off their retreat. The ravine wind surges upwards. The objective, not just to kill the 4 winged sentinels, however, to survive the shifting platform and ravine winds and disable the black crystal.
Alrighty, so the initiative order is Kale, the Winged Sentinel, Syrah, and then Aaron.
Kale charges the nearest crystal vein embedded in the spire's base. Heck, longsword. Hit 22. 10 slashing damage. Cracks spiderweb across the vein, black light leaking out like smoke. Kale plants himself between the sentinels and Sylra.
2 sentinels dive towards Kale, the other 2 peel off towards Syrah and Aaron. The one against Kale hits with a dirty 20, doing 7 slashing damage, and the other one misses, hitting against his blade instead, but not doing anything. Just a little flavor text there. The one against Syrah gets a 16 to hit, doing 5 slashing damage. And the one against Aaron, as it swoops down, using its claws, misses, getting a, what is that? That's a 13. No, yeah, 13. The wind intensifies as they continue swooping.
Sylra raises her hands, eyes locked on the damaged vein. Sylra, let's make it loud. She casts Shatter, centered on the crystal vein and nearby sentinel. Wild magic check, D6-4, surge triggers. Wild surge, harmonic feedback. The shatter radius increases slightly. Sylra takes 2 thunder damage.
One of the crystals explodes into fragmented shards, and one of the sentinels gets caught in the thunder damage as well, causing it to take 11 points of damage. The anchor pulses unevenly. The warden runes shift. Maybe an approval? Hard to tell in combat. They don't really have time to focus in on that.
Aaron slams her staff into the stone. Aaron, life endures, even here. She casts spike growth, warping cracked stone into jagged fungal crystal around the remaining veins. 2 sentinels flying low take damage as they maneuver. Sentinels take 6 piercing damage each. Aaron's halo of spores triggers on the wounded sentinel. For necrotic damage. The construct crashes into the spire, barely holding together.
And an environmental effect happens. A surge from the anchor causes the platform to tilt, making everybody make a dex saving throw, or slide 10 feet towards the ravine's edge. Kale passes. Syrah fails, but catches herself right before she goes over. Aaron passes as well, and the sentinels don't have to make the save as they are flying, so they are good for that.
Kale turns from the sentinels and finishes the second vein. Hit 18. 8 slashing damage. The vein shatters, black light snuffing out. 2 down.
One of the sentinels swoops down and tries to grab Kale and what looks to be like tossing him over the ravine's edge and just letting him fall. Kale ends up passing the grapple check, and then another sentinel flies in and attacks Sora, doing 6 damage to her.
Bleeding, Sora snarls. Sora, enough. She casts Chromatic Orb, Force, at the third crystal vein. Wild Magic check, D6-1. Wild Surge, Arcane Reversal. Spell damage is maximized. Sora takes 5 psychic damage. Damage, 24 force. The final vein disintegrates completely.
With the veins destroyed, Erin turns on the nearest sentinel. She casts Primal Savagery. Hit 18. 9 acid damage. The construct dissolves midair.
Seeing this, the remaining sentinel retreats, circling one time before returning to its dormant position along the spire. The wind dies down and the anchor pulses become erratic and weakened. The warden steps forward, its rune plates realign, no longer hostile. Proof accepted. It turns to the damaged anchor. Redirecting overflow. Containment breach now possible. A deep vibration rolls through the broken spire. For the first time, the anchor struggles instead of feeds. Consequences are proof. The warden will now assist in controlled destruction. The tower will feel this loss. A fragment of the bound essence stirs within the spire. The first chain has been weakened, but not broken yet. The warden raises both of his arms. Its rune plates separate and sink into the stone, spreading out across the broken spire like a circuit being rewritten in real time. The warden. Contaminated breach. Control mode. Redirecting essence flow. The anchor does not explode. It unravels. The black crystal veins crumble into inert dust as channel of divine energy are deviated upward and then outward, venting harmlessly into the ravine endless mist. The air screams and then steadies. Sura feels the surge of magic spewing through the air. It's unsettling, but it's necessary. Erin drops to one knee as it feels its life return into the stone beneath her. And Kale watches as the final binding glyph snaps like a broken chain. A deep, resonated thump rolls across the ravine. Then, silence. The warden turns to them, slower now, less rigid. Anchor 1 neutralized. System integrity degraded. But stable. For the first time, its voice carries something like weight. You have altered the failure cascade.
Aaron exhales. Good.
Far away, too far to see, but not too far to feel. The sky itches.
Silra stiffens first, clutching her head as a cold pressure presses inward, not pain, but attention. Someone just looked at us.
The ravine shadows lengthen unnaturally. Above Hamlet's distant skyline, a faint geometrical sigil flickers into existence, too large, too precise to be mortal magic. The warden freezes. Every rune on its body flashes crimson. Warning. Primary drain source has acknowledged loss. A voice does not speak. A concept presses into the world instead. Order, control, correction. For a heartbeat, the party glimpses something vast and inhuman. Axum, not present, but aware. The sigils fractures. Reality snaps back into place, but the message is clear. You are no longer unnoticed. The warden turns back to the party. Recommendation. Do not remain in this location. The broken spire groans. Somewhere deep within the ravine, something answers. The broken spire shudders again, but this time the motion is different. Intentional, even. The warden turns fully towards the fracturebound. Its runes plate lift from the stone and reassembles around its core, now dimmer, older. Data released authorized. A projection forms in the air between them, a fractured map of the region overlaid with glowing lines like broken paths. 3 points flare. One burns brightest. Anchor 2. Destination. Skyfall Vault. The image sharpens. A sunken floating city core half buried in a desert of glassed stone. Gravity wells that invert every few minutes. The constant wild magic turbulence. Function. Essence, refinement, and redistribution.
Aaron's spores recoil at the image. That's not a drain. That's a distillery.
Silra swears under her breath. He's processing gods.
Kale tightens his jaw. Then we shut it down next.
Before the projection can fade, the air near the ruin anchor ripples. Light spills out, not blinding but soft like moonlight filtered through clouds. A figure coalesced, not whole, not stable. A divine echo, a residual impact torn free when the anchor broke. Wings form first, and then a face familiar in shape but incomplete. The divine echo. I remember the sky.
Silra gasps. Air dry?
The echo nods faintly. Not I, but what was taken from me. It looks at each of them in turn, eyes full of ancient sorrow and gratitude. You, You broke the chain. Few ever do. The gaze sharpens. But the chains are connected. She raises her hand, projecting fleeting visions. Another anchor, each more heavily guarded. Gods bound in different states of decay. A central locus, the creator, where Axum feeds. The echo falters, light flickers. I cannot stay. The warning comes too late. The broken spire screams, not sound, structures. The ravine's wall begins to shear. Floating debris loosens as gravity reinserts itself violently. Chunks of the skystone plummet into the mist below. The bridge behind them starts to disintegrate. The warden snaps to attention. Catastrophic failure. Evacuation required. The divine echo turns to the party one last time. Run, and remember, freedom has a cost. It shatters into light, dispersing into the collapsing air. The ground lurches, a crack in the ravine races towards them. Kale scoops Silver forward as Aaron calls roots and stone to rise where none should exist. Behind them, the first anchor remains, vanished into the depths. The warden stands unmoving at the edge, runes blazing. Failure, contained, and then steps backward and lets itself fall. The fracturebound reach solid ground just as the collapse finishes. The ravine is now changed forever. It's no longer endless, no longer feeding. Somewhere far above, a faint breeze carries a whisper of the wind. Campaign state update. So they successfully destroyed Anchor 1, have now learned the location of Anchor 2 while gaining Axum's full attention. The region is permanently altered, and Eridia's essence partly freed. The road ahead is shorter, but far more dangerous for fracturebound. The fracturebound do not look back. They run, then walk, then start running again, trying to put as much distance between them and the ruins that they helped create. Behind them, charred fall ravines settling into a new jagged shape, the land still creaking as if it's sore from a wound that's finally begun to close. Days begin to blur together. The terrain shifts from broken hills to glass-scarred plains where lightning once fell upward instead of down. The ancient sky roads lie half buried. There, ruins flicker weakly beneath the dust. At night, the stars drift slightly out of alignment, as if the sky itself is remembering how it used to float.
Aaron senses life struggling back into places long thought dead. Moss growing where stone should not allow it, insects adapting to warped magic.
Kale keeps watch. Always watch. Sometimes he swears he sees movement in the clouds.
On the fourth day at dusk, the air locks, no wind, no sound. The shadows stretch too long. From the cracked horizon steps three figures, humanoid, robbed, their body parts partially phased like they didn't exist, half a second out of time. Their faces are smooth, with a pale crystal etched with perfect geometric lines. Axum's hunters. The ground beneath them does not break, it aligns. In unison. Targets confirmed. Behind them, the sky fractures briefly, revealing impossible shapes folding inward. The initiative is the hunters, Kale, Sarah, and Aaron. Two of the hunters blink forward, reality folding around them. One raises a hand, space compresses, causing Kale and Sarah to make a con save. Kale passes with a 16, Sarah fails with a 10. Doing 9 damage to Sarah, and she's pushed back and 5 to Kale. The third one creates a null pattern near Aaron. Magic falters briefly as he does this.
Kale plants his feet. You want order? Earn it. He charges, striking the nearest hunter. Hit 1711 slashing damage. The blade bites, but the wound rearranges itself, not fully healing but aligning.
Silra wipes blood from her lip, eyes burning. She casts Chaos Bolt, targeting a hunter outside the null pattern. Wild Magic check, D6-2, no surge. Hit 18. 14 chaotic damage. The bolt rebounds, arcing to a second hunter. 7 damage.
Aaron moves carefully out of the null pattern, slamming her staff down. She casts Entangle, vines ripping through glassed earth. 2 hunters are restrained briefly, reality resisting them instead of obeying. Aaron's halo of spores flares. For necrotic damage.
The hunters tilt their heads simultaneously. They are adapting. The order space shifts, locking down the terrain around the party. The hunters' form sharpens, movements becoming more deliberate. One of the hunters raises both of their hands. Correction required. And then takes a lunging strike at Kale and Sarah. Doing 8 damage at Kale, and Sarah evades as she ducks behind a jagged ridge, causing them to miss. And then the second hunter blinks towards Sarah, attempting to isolate her.
Kale lunges, driving his blade in with practiced precision. Longsword. Hit 17. 12 slashing damage. The strike lands true.
The mask fractures completely, splintering outward in a perfect geometric bloom. For the first time, the hunter screams, not in pain, but in error. Its body loses cohesion, unraveling into lines of light that snap and fold inward, and then collapse into a scattered of inert crystal shards. That's 1 hunter down. 2 more to go.
Silra grins, feral. You hate chaos? Good. She hurls a chromatic orb, lightning, directly at the cracked edge of the hunter's mask. Wild Magic check, D6-5, no surge. Hit 18. 16 lightning damage.
causing one of the hunter's masks to spiderweb, but it holds. Electric arcs crawl across the hunter's form, disrupting his phasing.
Erin steps forward, eyes glowing faintly green. She points her staff at the same hunter. You don't belong in living soil. She casts Blight, fungal rot racing across the hunter's crystalline body. Failed save with a 12. 15 necrotic damage. The hunter stumbles, its form destabilizing. Erin's halo of spores triggers. For necrotic damage. The mask fractures further.
The remaining hunters are no longer advancing confidently. They're recalculating. One's near collapse, the other is untouched. And then the order space pulses and then falters. The land fails, not shatters, but misaligns. A deep, resonant crack echoes beneath everyone's feet, like snow snapping from impossible pressure. The glass planes ripple outward in concentric rings as the order space, the hunters collide violently with the lingering chaos from the destroyed anchor. The result is catastrophic. Reality slips a gear. The ground fractures into floating plates, some rising, some dropping. Gravity inverts and pulses, sending debris and combatants lurching upward before slamming back down. The wild magic surge detonates at the center of the battlefield, but not from Syrah, but from the land itself. The weakened hunter is hit first. Its already fractured mass cannot compensate. The construct freezes mid-step as its body is pulled in 3 directions at once. What sounds like glass being crushed inside of a bell is the hunter imploding on himself. The second hunter is destroyed. The last hunter staggers, stabilizing as it tries to reassert order. It looks not at the party but at the sky, and for the first time its voice is not unified. Parameters invalid, retreating. And then he starts to book it out of there. A wave of inverted gravity rips from the ground underneath of him as he's running. The hunter backwards into a sprawling tear of distorted air. There's no explosion, no scream, just snaps as he is forcibly displaced. Silence crashes down harder than the collapse. Floating debris settles slowly, clinking back into place. The land itself seems to exhale. As Kale steadies himself, planting his sword in the ground, Syrah drops to one knee, laughing, half relieved, half hysteria. And Erin closes her eyes, spores drifting gently as the terrain begins to stabilize. The order space is gone, but what remains is raw, scared reality. Hostile, but free. They don't wait, not for the land to finish settling or for Axum to try again. The fracturebound move on. Kale leads as usual, setting a relentless pace through the fractured terrain, eyes always on the horizon where the warden's projections burn the brightest in his memory. The glass plains thin out, giving way to scorched stone and half-buried ruins, remnants of a city that once fell sideways instead of down. Sura walks with magic pulled tight against her chest, like something wanting to bite, or waiting to bite. Aaron brings up the rear, whispering to the lands as they go. And above them all, clouds drift in layers. Some move east, some move west, not all move though. Some just stay still. Hours pass, then light changes, not dimmer, wrong. Shadows point towards the sun. Gravity hiccups once more, just enough for them to stumble. And then, on the horizon, half buried in vast desert, a fused crystal of ash lies the core of the fallen, floating city. It's upside down. A massive stone arch hanging in the air, anchored to nothing, while entire districts lay suspended mid-collapse, frozen by the fluctuating gravity wells. At the heart of the city is its cylindrical structure of mirrored stone and gold-veined crystal, the Skyfall Vault. Energy flows into it from every direction, upward, inward, feeding something deep inside.
Silra feels sick. That's not just an anchor.
Aaron nods slowly. That's where gods go to be processed.
Kale sets his jaw. Then we don't stop at the door.
As they draw nearer, gravity inverts unpredictably every few minutes. Patrols move along impossible paths, walking on air and ceiling and even broken walls. The vault itself emits a low harmonic tone that resonates in their bones. They're approaching something far more defended than the first anchor, and far more important. The fracture-bound halt on the edge of a shattered ridge overlooking Skyfall Vault. They don't rush. Not this time. They spent hours watching.
Kale marks movement with chalk on broken stone, arrows, angles, pauses.
Silra times the gravity shifts, counting under her breath, feeling for the rhythm beneath the chaos.
Aaron presses her palm to the glassed earth, spores drifting outward like scouts.
Slowly, a pattern emerges. The gravity inversion cycle occurs every 3 to 5 minutes, irregular but not random. Inversions last about 10 to 15 seconds. The vault's inner ring remains stable, a safe zone. Patrol routes, clockwork sentinels move in a triangular path. The hunters phase only during the stable gravity. Blind spots form briefly during the inversion resets. The harmonic tone that the vault emits is a constant resonating sound. During the inversion, the tone drops about a half a step. The moment disrupts detection for about 6 seconds.
Erin stiffens suddenly. There she closes her eyes. Erin, not speaking. Pressing.
Silra swallows. Gods?
Erin nods. Or what's left of them.
The party identifies a collapsed promenade that floats only during the inversion, a vertical breach in the outer hall that opens up briefly when gravity flips, and a service causeway that's invisible unless viewed upside down.
Kale taps the map. We get one clean entry.
Silra exhales. And if we miss it?
Erin finishes softly. We fall.
Silra notices something else. A second harmonic beneath the first. Sharper. Watching. The vault's adapting. Not to us specifically, but to interference. Time is limited.
Alrighty, that is it for episode 10. Yeah, let me know what you think of the story so far. And as always, don't let things weigh you down.